Hi, welcome to your weekly astrology reading. So, today Neptune just went direct. So this is kind of definitely creating a little bit of a fog happening again, just because, when they're switching gears, it's kind of, they bring out their more negative sides. So there's kind of like an illusory effect here. But also, we're switching from more of an inner perspective to more of an outer perspective. So we've probably been tuning into ourselves quite a bit and really tuning into our own intuition, and also dealing with releasing illusions and, all of that stuff, and maybe even releasing addiction, possibly. And now that it's moving direct, it's kind of bringing more of an outer focus to the Neptune, Neptune planet. So now we're going to be feeling more connected to the collective, and maybe even be able to find others who resonate with more on an intuitive level. So that's kind of, there you go. All right, so on November 14th, 2013, there's going to be a yod that will include Saturn and Scorpio sextiling Mars and Virgo, and they're both in conjunct to the moon in Aries. So we've been working steadily along with Mars and Virgo and Saturn and Scorpio, and now the moon in Aries is kind of feeling maybe a little impatient about the results and wanting to move forward very quickly. And also, this can cause a bit of impulsiveness in your goals, but also it will give you more drive to get stuff done. And so the best thing to do is notice how far you really have come and be grateful for where you're at, and to try not to get into that impatient mode. So yeah, and then the Sun in Scorpio and Mars in Virgo also create a yod with the moon in Aries, and this is really all about noticing where we have been applying our energies. And if you're feeling a bit emotionally unbalanced, the best thing to do is to try to find the balance between, taking care of your responsibilities, taking care of yourself, and also staying active. So yeah, definitely bringing a focus on, where we are and how we really need to utilize our energies. Okay, the Sun in Scorpio trines Jupiter in Cancer. So this is kind of noticing where we are in our own expansion process, and what opportunities we might have for learning and growing, and also creating abundance. And also it can be like a feeling of expansion in our emotions, since it's involving Cancer, and then shedding light into our subconscious, since the Sun in Scorpio is all about, shedding light into our subconscious tendencies. And then also realizing certain things about who we are as people and applying our philosophies too. Okay, and then moon in Aries squares Jupiter in Cancer. So there's kind of a conflict that may be occurring between wanting to go out and expand in the world and find adventures, and staying within our homes or within our own space. So we may feel like a little conflicted about whether we want to, be within ourselves or go out in the world a little more. So one way you could utilize this energy is for inner work, and really maybe even having your own little mini adventures within yourself, like meditation of sorts, or use that for creativity as well. And then also you could also go out in the world on an adventure on your own, maybe in nature, and kind of have some time for reflection while simultaneously having an adventure. Or you could even do some studying about your roots, or some study about other cultures even within the comfort of your own home. So some interesting ways to maybe utilize that energy. All right, so on November 15th, 2013, Venus in Capricorn conjuncts Pluto. And I think I briefly talked about this, but this is when it goes exact. So this is going to bring up subconscious tendencies within our relationships so that they may be healed and transformed. And it could also bring to light what our ambitions in our relationships are. Where is this relationship going, or what do I want from a relationship if you aren't in a relationship. So yeah, it definitely will be healing and finding out like where we are headed, you know. So all right, and then the moon on that same day opposes Mercury, so we may have trouble communicating what our emotions truly are, and there could be some tension between what we're actually thinking and saying and what we are feeling. So trying to find that middle ground to be able to maybe tune into what our emotions are within ourselves, but maybe don't try to necessarily communicate it yet. Just try to kind of figure out what it is you're actually feeling and try to understand where you're coming from. And then Venus in Capricorn and Pluto in Capricorn sextile Chiron in Pisces, and they also sextile the North Node in Scorpio, and then they trine the South Node in Taurus and the Moon in Taurus, and then they're square Uranus. So this whole thing right here really reminds me of like healing karma, past life karma and this life karma, dealing with all of that within our relationships, and also maybe like in that square coming in with Uranus and Aries, this is like the only masculine planet in this whole scenario. So there is this need to be free of this, and it's like you really need to like hone in on what it is that you have been learning in your life so far about relationships, and hone in on what karma you have from that perspective, but also just general karma as well. But that square will really kind of hit us, you know, from the side, kind of being like, just, you know, and it's a little impatient. So it's kind of like bringing this stuff to light. And it's also kind of creating maybe a little bit of conflict with that and a little chaos. But at the same time, you can really kind of make some major changes and transformations within, since all those sextiles and trines are so easy flowing. It's like this stuff is all flowing easily, but it's a lot of subconscious and emotional stuff. So bringing that stuff to light is probably the best way to deal with that. And then, you know, then that will work with it a little easier if you're bringing it to light. If it's not being brought to light, it's going to come crashing into you, and it's going to be brought to light either the hard way or the easy way. So, all right, shifting a little bit because the sun's in my eyes. All right. On November 16th, 2013, the moon in Taurus opposes Saturn in Scorpio, and it trines Mars in Virgo. So, sorry, I kind of doubled up on some of these aspects here, but the moon in Taurus opposing Saturn in Scorpio. So the moon in Taurus is a very slow and steady planet, and Saturn is a very, or Taurus, the sign is a very slow and steady. Sorry. And then Saturn is a very slow and steady planet as well, and it's very, you know, hardworking, very concentrated, and very dense too, because you're really tuning into that, you know, concentrating, and it could also become a block. So anyway, it's kind of bringing like maybe a, you know, it's an opposition, so it's kind of a tension, kind of a, like, you gotta compromise. It's like trying to find a balance while simultaneously like being tense and need to find a compromise there. So our emotions may not be fully on board with you know, what we've been working on. So basically, I guess with this instance, it's in Scorpio, we're kind of dealing with these, you know, unconscious things, subconscious things that are really, we have been concentrating on it. And some of this could be blocking us. But the moon in Taurus is a very, like, you know, it shouldn't be too bad, but at the same time, it's like we're kind of, our emotions are not fully like on board with what's like going on subconsciously, or like maybe because the subconscious stuff is going on, the emotions are kind of just creating a little tension there. So yeah, I'm not really sure what else to say about that. All right, so the moon in Taurus trines Mars and Virgo on the same day, and this really is very energetic when Mars and the moon are trining, because then we have a lot of energy to really, like, we have a lot of emotional energy, but at the same time, like, just a lot of energy. So we can really keep on working and enjoying, like, maybe going outside in nature would be an awesome way to use this energy. Also enjoying, like, cooking or working hard on something, doing something creative possibly, would be a good way to utilize this energy. So the moon in Taurus sextiles Jupiter in Cancer on the same day, so it's got a very positive thing going on, very sensual and comforting and homey. You could be enjoying the finer things in life, enjoying your abundance, and it may be a little bit of indulgence occurring, but also very stimulating too, because it's a sextile. So yeah, a lot of learning could occur on that day, a lot of emotional growth as well. So just very enjoying the day. So yeah, I mean, that should counteract what's going on with the Saturn and Scorpio, but as long as you become consciously aware of what's going on with your unconscious or subconscious, then usually you can kind of deal with that stuff. It kind of lifts the energy. So all right, November 17th, full moon in Taurus. So yeah, our emotions they're reaching a completion, a feeling of completion, but also could also be a little bit of intensity that occurs, intensity of emotion. But with Taurus, it's a very sensual sign, and you could very much enjoy this night, especially if you are in a relationship. It could be very a beautiful thing. It could be that you enjoy wonderful, like, food, or enjoying, all those earthy pleasures, but also just the culmination of emotion. Definitely, yeah, it's potent. Okay, the moon in Gemini the same night. That was in the morning for the West Coast people, of course, but around the world, I'm sure that you can probably see the full moon, somewhere. But anyway, the moon turns into Gemini later that day, which will square Neptune in Pisces. So this could cause a little bit of self-delusion. Old feelings could come back to, like, the surface. So this is actually a great time to release those feelings and maybe do, like, a meditation or, like, a releasing kind of ritual, kind of like letting go of all those old illusions, old delusions, whatever they are, really, all those old emotions that are, kind of, that create self-delusion. So letting that stuff go. All right, on November 18th, 2013, Mercury conjuncts the North Node in Scorpio. So, yeah, the North Node is kind of what we're moving towards as a collective, and so there could be more communication on how we're moving forward, especially when it comes to, financial systems, shared finances, and also about transformation and rebirth, and possibly even sex and death. So kind of new ways of looking at those things, though, because that's what the North Node is about. It's really about the things we're really moving towards that are positive, and kind of less on the negative side of that. So Mercury conjunct that really has us thinking more about that stuff and also communicating more about that stuff. And then Moon in Gemini sextiles Uranus and Aries on that same day. So the Moon in Gemini is able to really communicate their emotions, but also very intellectual, and really looks at their emotions from that perspective, very, very intellectually, and very kind of organizes your emotions in a way, or like looks at it from a really pros and cons perspective, that sort of thing. And having that sextile Uranus in Aries, this brings like unexpectedness, unexpected impulsivity, and possibly even like just kind of more fun, you know, more freedom, more unconventionality, maybe unconventional ideas, unconventional ways to look at our emotions. Yeah. And then the moon in conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. This is kind of when an inconjunct occurs, I always think of inconjuncts as somewhat complementary, but at the same time, they're not really on board. Like, they're like kind of out of focus, kind of like, what's good? Like, this is kind of interesting, you know? So anyway, the moon in Gemini is in conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. So we're really probably dealing with, you know, that, you know, objectivity with the emotions. But the Pluto in Capricorn is really delving deep and releasing old patterns and structures and that sort of thing. So we might be intellectualizing a little bit, and it might not be necessarily conducive to the transformation, but it could be interesting nonetheless. Yeah. All right. The moon squares Chiron in Pisces too. So this is bringing up some healing and some maybe tension between, you know, the Gemini does not want to delve as deeply as Chiron and Pisces does. Chiron and Pisces is going to bring up old wounds and all that stuff to be healed, and really self-healing that brings healing to the collective. And then the moon in Gemini is kind of like, oh, let's look at this from this perspective. So they're kind of at odds a little bit, like kind of creating a tension possibly, but at the same time, we can look at those emotions from a different point of view, like an intellectual point of view. So we don't have to feel them as much, but we can talk about them, and maybe that can help us release those things. And the moon creates a yod with Venus in Capricorn, which will sextile Saturn in Scorpio, so they're pointing at the moon with the inconjunctness. All right, so let's see. Emotions and... Okay, so relationships and responsibilities are kind of hand in hand on this one. We may have a sense of responsibility towards our relationships that we need to focus on, but then the moon is over here in Gemini. So we're wanting to kind of communicate about our emotions within the context of our relationships and responsibilities. So it would be actually a good time to communicate about anything that you know, has to do with maybe shared responsibilities, and also has to do with you know, practicalities in the relationship, and even like the ambitions. And this is a really good time to talk about, you know, the relationship and, you know, where you're headed and the more practical matters of the relationship, and be able to communicate that in a way that is less difficult with that moon in Gemini, because it is able to look at things from a little bit of a more intellectual point of view than, like, you know, a deep emotional way, which can sometimes stir up some, you know, stuff. But since it's not like that, you know, it's a good time to talk about that stuff. Okay, Mars in Virgo and Jupiter in Cancer are sextile. So Mars and Jupiter really brings a lot of energy to our philosophies, and may even be having us kind of maybe even defend what our beliefs are, and defend maybe like our higher ideals. But it should be in a way that's more of a fun way. Like, there could be like a sense of competition, but it should be like like kind of a fun competition type thing. So interesting discussions could occur, but also some movement in that area, be able to maybe apply some more of that into your real, you know, daily life, and yeah, all that stuff. All right, so November 19th, 2013, the moon in Gemini squares Mars in Virgo. So this is definitely creating a lot of energy, but it's like kind of a more difficult energy, maybe even a nervous energy, because we've got both of the Mercury planets going on there. So the moon and Mars. So basically the best way to utilize this energy is probably intellectual stimulation or getting exercise or doing like playing a game that has a lot of strategy, using your strategic mind, maybe even to getting stuff done in your daily life too, like, you know, making lists and working towards that list and getting some stuff done on that day. But if you don't do that, you know, then there may be a little bit of conflict that occurs. So yeah, Mercury in Scorpio in conjunct Uranus and Aries on this day. So we're probably like kind of taking a break from gaining some insight. Like Mercury in Scorpio is kind of delving a little deeper, doing some research, but Uranus in Aries is not, it's not going to be conducive to having that breakthrough realization on that day. But yeah, I mean, you could still, you know, delve deep even if you don't have the breakthrough that you're looking for. All right, and then Moon in Gemini in conjunct Sun in Scorpio. So yeah, we're still kind of dealing with that unconscious stuff coming up, and the Moon in Gemini is kind of wanting to intellectualize it, and it just may be, you know, that we're intellectualizing things a bit too much, but that, you know, yeah, so looking at these things from a different point of view is basically what I'm kind of seeing there. Okay, where am I? Okay, November 20th, 2013. All right, the Moon in Cancer trines Neptune in Pisces on that day, so this is definitely a good day for relaxation, daydreaming, going within our intuition, and definitely more of an inner reflection day. And then Mercury in Scorpio sextiles Pluto in Capricorn. So this is able to really communicate what has been under the surface for a while and be able to really release that stuff through communication or through writing or thoughts, you know, or we're thinking about that stuff. But yeah, communicating it or writing it down would be a really great thing to do on that day. And then Mercury trines Chiron on Pisces, same day. So we've got that old wounds coming up. We're able to communicate about those things and be able to really release them through communication or writing as well. And then the Moon opposes Pluto in Capricorn. So our, you know, we're still kind of dealing with like emotions not being fully like expressed possibly, but we are feeling some stuff coming up. And, you know, it's really, you know, at least we're able to be communicating a lot more with all that Mercury stuff going on and being able to release it through writing too. But yeah, the Moon opposing Pluto kind of makes us like maybe a little less aware of where we are emotionally. And then Moon trines Chiron, which is actually a great way to release the emotions that Chiron will be bringing up for healing. So there you go. Have a great week. I know this video is probably pretty long, but thanks for watching it and liking and subscribing and commenting. And I'm going to be sending loving thoughts your way. Have a great week.